Microsoft is hanging up on Skype. Hi everyone, it's Jeff, and this is Plain English, the best podcast to help you upgrade your English with stories about current events and trending topics. If your goal is to learn new words and new ways of expressing ideas, you are in the right place. And if you want to do more than just listen, if you like Plain English and want to continue to work with us, then I invite you to join us at plainenglish.com. There are great exercises and activities with each episode, plus a lot more. Today's topic is Skype. Skype was one of the first, not the very first, but one of the first ways you could call someone over the internet. We take that for granted now with WhatsApp, FaceTime, Zoom, and Microsoft Teams, but it wasn't always like that. Today, you'll learn the story of Skype, and we'll get ready to say goodbye when Microsoft sunsets the service next month, May 2025. This is episode number 764. So that means you can find the full episode resources at plainenglish.com/764. Before we start today's story, I'd just like to remind you that the podcast is just one part of how we can help you upgrade your English skills. At plainenglish.com, you can make faster progress with active learning strategies. You can take quizzes, do activities, listen to the fast version of the audio, watch video workshops, practice what you learn, and even join a live call with JR and me. It's all about helping you build your skills to become a better, more confident English speaker. Sound good? Go to plainenglish.com to start your free 14-day trial today. Now, let's jump into today's story. It's hard to believe now, but about 20 years ago, the idea of cheap face-to-face video calling seemed like science fiction. Early attempts at a video phone were clunky and they never caught on. Large companies had video conferencing setups in dedicated rooms. These worked well, but only if the other party had the same expensive equipment. At the same time, long-distance or international calling was expensive. Cell phone plans routinely came with minutes limits. Landline packages often charged by the minute for long-distance calls. International calls cost a fortune. A typical landline call from the US to Europe cost about 50 cents per minute. Two entrepreneurs thought they could do better. Nicholas Zenström from Sweden and Janice Fries from Denmark teamed up to release a service they called Sky Peer-to-Peer. They wanted to create a service that would let two people communicate across long distances. So they called the service Sky Peer-to-Peer. They shortened it to Skyper, but since Skyper.com was already taken, they settled on Skype. Skype got a bright blue logo with a cloud shape. The two founders worked with an engineering team in Estonia. Together, they leveraged an existing technology called Voice over IP, or VoIP. Existing services were clunky and difficult to use. With some services like Vonage, users needed to buy a special type of phone. With other services, both parties had to be online at the same time. Still others made consumers customize their routers. And even if they did all that, call quality was poor. There were problems with latency. That's the delay between when you speak and when the other person hears you. And there were echoes and other issues. Skype's innovation was to take this voice over IP technology, make it more reliable, and also make it customer-friendly. They integrated familiar features like user-friendly IDs, voicemail, and chat-style messaging. The aim was to democratize communication. Calls between Skype users were free, and Skype users could dial out to international numbers for a fraction of the cost that phone companies charged, usually just a few cents per minute or less. That meant that calls from India to Canada, from the US to Mexico, or from Hong Kong to London became affordable overnight. After its initial success, Skype took a strange business turn. Just 2 years after its founding, big technology companies were salivating at its success. In 2005, eBay, the online auction marketplace, bought Skype for $2.6 billion. This, and I remember thinking this at the time, this was a strange partnership. The idea was that eBay users could use Skype to negotiate prices via chat or voice calls, but eBay never really integrated Skype into its platform. The service had a strong standalone business that didn't really make sense in eBay's larger business. So in 2011, eBay sold Skype to Microsoft. That made more sense, and through the years, Microsoft was a good steward of Skype. The standalone calling business remained, but Microsoft started to bundle Skype into its business software offerings. Many companies used Skype's business platform for internal messaging and for cheap online calling. But in the mid-2010s, Skype and Microsoft missed a huge opportunity. Consumers had not adopted Skype in large numbers because it was another app, another login, another thing to keep track of, just for cheap calling. It was great for cheap international calls, but let's be honest, not everyone needed that. For most people, Skype just wasn't worth it. Other entrepreneurs spotted the problem. In most of the world, SMS text messaging was cheaper than calls, but still expensive. Soon, standalone messaging services emerged to give texters a better experience than SMS. WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Apple's FaceTime, and WeChat started with messaging and branched out into voice and video calls, and Skype was left behind. On the business side, Zoom and Google grabbed video conferencing market share. Skype was left as an add-on to Microsoft's other tools. Skype should have been well positioned to advance in the pandemic, but Skype didn't offer the simplicity of one-click meeting links. When COVID hit, Zoom was better prepared to serve business users. Zoom became a verb. Skype became an afterthought. Microsoft was also moving on. The company used Skype technology to develop the voice and video chatting features that you now see in Teams. But Teams has much more than Skype ever did. Things like scheduling, file sharing, and collaboration features. It's also deeply integrated into other Microsoft tools in a way that Skype never was. Skype didn't get much investment in recent years and felt like a legacy product. So that is the end of the Skype story. In early 2025, Microsoft announced it would sunset Skype on May 5th, 2025. "22 years. In that time, Skype was a scrappy upstart, revolutionized long-distance audio and video calling, became part of the mainstream, then faded into irrelevance, and then was retired. A lot can happen in less than a quarter of a century. I wasn't a big Skype user. I had a Skype ID, and I absolutely used it when I needed to call internationally. It was great for that. You had to pay in some circumstances, but calling was always way cheaper than it was with a landline or a cell phone, and it was free to call someone else with Skype. The problem was not a lot of people in my orbit used Skype, so its usefulness was limited to me as a consumer. But then my previous employer adopted Skype for Business as our instant messaging and calling platform, so I got to use it for several more years. But now Microsoft has moved on. Calling and messaging is now part of its Teams app, and so there's just no need for Skype anymore. All right, that's it for us here at Plain English. If you enjoyed today's episode, you can take a quiz, practice your listening, improve your pronunciation, and more, all at plainenglish.com/764. All the exercises there are related to this episode, so it's a great way to extend the learning you do here in the podcast. plainenglish.com/764. Thank you to JR. We'll be back on Thursday with a new topic. See you then. Congratulations! You just learned a new English expression. But do you feel ready to use it in the real world? Just how confident are you? What if you could take a quiz to confirm your understanding? And what if you could write your own sentence using the expression you just learned and get human feedback from an expert English speaker? Believe it or not, we offer exactly that at plainenglish.com. Every time you learn an expression with Plain English, you can write your own example using that expression. And then an expert English speaker, that's me, an expert English speaker will read your example and give you personal feedback on how to improve. In other words, you can make all your mistakes with us in a friendly, supportive environment. And then you'll be an expert when you use the expression out in the real world. If that sounds good to you, then go to plainenglish.com and start your free 14-day trial. Practice as many English expressions as you like, and you'll get feedback on every sentence. Go to plainenglish.com to start your free 14-day trial today.